issue that may not also end soon if drastic steps are not taken. By the way, I've not seen anything that somebody wants to tell me that should have been the differentials between the Polytechnic HND and BSc from the universities. Looking at it from people's mind is what I'm going to speak before I start to speak my own mind. People's mind just assume that if you go to Polytechnic, you are a second fiddle. The federal government of Nigeria also look at it from that perspective. When you go to Polytechnic, you are being rated as a second fiddle. But not a school like Auchi Polytechnic. Auchi Polytechnic has whatever university has and even more. In terms of academic staffs, in terms of laboratories, in terms of lectures, halls, and whatever. But that is not what we are talking about here. What we are talking about here is what people perception about the Polytechnic and the university education. In the National Board of Technical Education today, we have one slogan. And what is it? Skills, but not degrees. We are no longer after how many degrees you have. We are after how many skills you have acquired that will be meaningful to the society. The dichotomy, like I've said, is a long history problem, and be it as it may, the federal government is not willing and not ready to actually face it out. We have met severally, we have proposed solutions severally to the federal government. This dichotomy you are saying, tomorrow you go to National Assembly and say HND and VSC are the same, is not possible. You go to the radio station and say HND and VSC are the same, is not possible. The possible thing about it is, have you provide an enabling environment that will equalize the two of them? What matters is, if you want to actually remove the dichotomy, there are ways you can do it. And what is that way? Allowed the Polytechnic to take its own direction. The university can take its own direction. But what you should do is to allow the Polytechnic graduates to aspire to the highest level of their career. But if they are now truncated, simply because they are executive cadre, you say they cannot pass level 14. But you allowed somebody with a degree to go to level 15, 16, and whatever. Then what action are you taking? You have already created the dichotomy. But let us maintain the administrative cadre that is taken by the degree graduates, and take the executive cadre that is taken by the HND graduates, but allow them to progress to the highest level. You allow the BSc to progress to level 16, allow the HND to progress to level 16. If you have that, nobody will want to convert from executive to administrative cadre. Nobody wants to convert. That is one. Two, in some of the developed nations like UK, even South Africa here, Ghana, China in 2014, they converted 1,400 universities to the polytechnics. If you go to Singapore, they are still operating polytechnic system. But how do you normalize them? Give the polytechnic the mandate to also progress beyond HND. Allow the polytechnics to have their own academic system that will allow them to progress to whatever level. We can have what we call bachelors of technology. And these bachelors of technology should start from the polytechnics. Truncate the HND, push the HND away, and allow our students to have their ND so that they can be technically and vocationally sound. Then they can go for their bachelors of technology in the polytechnics. And then from there they can progress. When you look at it from other angles, you will see that, okay, what are we now talking about? We are talking about the academics of excellence. Can you now compare Auchi Polytechnic with any of the universities that are within our own environments, in terms of qualified academic staffs? Of course you cannot. If you go to Department of Accountancy, we have over 12 PhD holders. Go to other universities around us and see. They are scrambling to have 2, 3. If you go to Department of Statistics, where I came from, we are about 22 in number. About 10 of us are PhD holders. Go to any university around us and see. Go to mechanical engineering. They have well over 8, 9 PhD holders. What do you need in academics that will now allow people to award master's degree, PhD, and whatever? If you become a professor, professor is just like becoming a chief lecturer. It's just career progression, nothing more than that. All you need is a PhD that we have here in abundance. We have a department that only 2 people are not PhD holders. So you could see that it's just a self-made dichotomy that has been created, not based on reality of academic excellence, but just based on the fact that the government does not want to equalize these 2 systems. We have everything. The Polytechnic system has everything. If you go to Committee of Polytechnic Rectors, all the 36 Polytechnic Rectors are PhD holders. And chief lecturers, which is equivalent to the professional cadre. So people should just look at it. If I have a child today and the child, I want to bring him up, I will certainly allow him to go through the Polytechnic. Why? Because I think that is what will make him a self-reliant person. How many of the universities that you see, even their graduates from engineering, how many of them that we can boast of that they can sit down and do 1 or 2 things with their hands? Because the skill aspect of it is lacking in the university. But the skill aspect of academics is what you have standing in the Polytechnic system. And with this, our mantra now, that skills, not degree, I can assure you in the next 5 years, Polytechnic system will be an envy of the Nigerian academic system.
I do see that dream in what you said. I really do see it. So what are your future plans for Auchi Polytechnic though?
Yes, my future plan, like I have said at the beginning of this, is to make Auchi Polytechnic one of the best institutions, not only in Nigeria, but compared with any other institution outside this country. Through attainment of multiple certificates by my students, where you attain the certificate of academics and you attain the certificate of skills. So that when you leave this place, you become a proud person. You raise your shoulder high and say, yes, I've graduated from Auchi Polytechnic and I don't want your office work. I want to also employ people. I don't want to be employed. That is my ambition.